Today's talk focuses on primarily two areas, but as usual, we do survey the Tesla news. The first is 50% off on your tires for Tesla car owners. And what is this about, and how can you benefit from it? The second thing we look at today is the fact that GM's Bob Lutz announced that, in essence, based on Tesla's or GM's resources, they would have 20 new models out by approximately 2021 that would pretty much destroy the Tesla advantages that have made the company successful. So these are our primary two areas, and as usual, we have our health tips, and we also are very much looking forward to suggestions from you all. Also wanted to note that we can see whenever you guys say hello, and we'll say hello at the end so that those that weren't on the live feed will be able to not be interrupted by that. Also wanted to thank all of our Patreon supporters as well as our subscribers. Your support is greatly appreciated. And as you saw in our photo, I decided that I could finally afford the X in high style. So I wanted to recommend all of you Tesla lovers to go on YouTube and make sure you get your Hot Wheels collection of Tesla vehicles. And this is shameless publicity for Hot Wheels, but it's awesome. I wanted to first start out today with the fact that I had I interview probably, I want to say 7 or 8 Tesla owners or so every month. And the goal is to sort of I'm sort of collecting different ideas that may not be obvious from people who are empirically using the vehicles so that we can leverage that information for better ownership. So today's focus is on one of those owners. The gentleman lives in a place called Bethesda, Maryland. He is both a professor in the School of Medicine as well as a researcher, and he's been a model owner of he indicated to me that he ordered the Model 40 to come in at the lowest end, but he ended up getting the 60, and he's had his car since 2012. So I wanted to go through first a list of sort of comments that he shared and sort of what his take was based on those experiences with Tesla. So the first item that he shared was that he actually loves the car. He thinks it's awesome because of the performance aspects. It's like driving a go-kart. So he was really happy with it. The second point he made was he actually gave up a BMW M3 to transition to the Tesla. And I was kind of shocked because I had an M3 and really enjoyed that performance, and was fascinated to see that people are stepping away from the ownership of Model 3 into, or an M3 into the ownership of a Tesla. And I asked him, well, what did you think of the transition? And he said, oh, it was really easy. In the case of my M3, I was spending $5,000 a year in different types of repair and maintenance. So when I went to Tesla, all of a sudden I rid myself of all these extra expenditures. So I was thrilled for the transition. So for those of you who are BMW owners thinking of the transition, he also explained that about 17 moving parts, as we know, in the Tesla engine bay is one of the big reasons that there's a competitive advantage to Tesla over ownership of other types of vehicles. The next thing he got into was the fact that he was actually thinking of leaving Tesla and moving over to possibly the e-tron. Wow, I have to say hi to my friend from Mumbai, India. I think you're our longest distance away from now, and I'm impressed you've chosen to join us. And so what's fascinating here is that he explained that while he loves his Tesla, he really wants to stay in the electric space, but he's not happy with the creature comforts when it comes to a Tesla vehicles, the fit and finish, be it the leather seats as well as accoutrements that you can expect from a luxury vehicle. And I thought that was interesting that he was seriously thinking of leaving the brand based on lack of creature comforts that he was being exposed to. The next thing that I wanted to, so I was kind of surprised, and we reviewed the fact that in the United States there are only 540 e-trons currently, and the fact is that they're having issues right now that are causing recalls for those vehicles, and therefore there are issues already popping up for that vehicle, and it's a fairly young vehicle in the space. The final thing that he covered, which is part of our title today, is how to get 50% off your battery costs when you're dealing with a test, or 50% off tire costs. So what he explained, and this is based on that's true. I wanted to note, there's a conversation going back and forth regarding how far away our viewers are, and a gentleman just said hello from Mumbai, and my friends from London were like, oh, I guess you win the distance contest today. So I thought it was an interesting back and forth. So basically what happened is that he explained that as Tesla has made certain tires the standard OEM, what he noticed is that the prices of the tires started rising. And so if you go online, be it Reddit or other forums, he carefully monitors those forums, and what he found was that the principal tire is a Goodyear tire now for Teslas for the 19-inch wide. The Goodyear tires are sort of the OEM equipment. Per tire costs are approximately $240 a piece, and what he found in terms of good ride quality and great price was that the Michelin pilots at Costco were coming in at about $140 a piece. Plus you get all the other benefits of after purchase ownership when it comes to a Costco ownership relationship, tire rotations, flat fixes, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to just highlight to everyone today, for those of you, I know the folks in non-US countries may have some concerns there, but I just wanted to highlight for you, for those of you who have access to Costco, most of my viewership is the United States, that you want to keep an eye on which tires are being rated well relative to ride quality in Teslas. And according to him, the winner right now in terms of cost performance is a Michelin Pilot, and Costco sells them for about $140 versus the $240 that's being charged for the Goodyear, so something to think about. The final component of what I wanted to review with our Tesla voters, I'll call him Jim, even though that's not his first name for privacy reasons. He actually reviewed some of the challenges, issues that he had worked through over time with the vehicle. The first of those is that evidently 25% of the Model S's had issues with shuttering when it came to the drivetrain. And so in his case, he had some of those issues. He noted it to the factory, and they completely redid and fixed it at no cost. The final area that he reviewed was that in the case of the door handles on the Model S, they went through 3 iterations of them and replacing those door handles before they finally found a construct that works. And so I'm hopeful that for those of you who have the S and are experiencing challenges, you make sure you stay on top of what's going on in terms of factory fixes. They seem to have figured it out, even though that protruding door handle is still an issue when it comes to very cold areas where you have to chip off the ice in order to get it to open up so that you can open your car door. Interesting point there. So any rate, get your 50% off your tires. We want you to save money while owning your Tesla. Also, I'm going to be shamelessly pubbing this as we go forward. You need your Model X from Hot Wheels, and I think it's a great way to get a collection of vehicles that you can monitor. The next thing I wanted to review today is there's a Tesla attack that's been developing for the last 5-7 years, and that is that there's a rule in business which says that the richest people have all the cash and they go after the smaller entities that might have a good idea and either buy them, sabotage them, or simply outcompete them. One way or the other, they tend to get the smaller company, and in this case, Tesla is that smaller company. One of the things we've enjoyed for this show is what we call the Bob Lutz review and consideration. So as you all know, Bob Lutz has been a source of dialogue for our show and community for a long time. And Bob was focused on the fact that by 2021-22, GM had announced as of 2017-2018 that they would have about 20 different electric products that would pretty much blow Tesla out of the water. And he was confident that while Tesla doesn't deliver on its promises, there's no doubt that GM would. And so there are a bunch of data points that spin off of this. The first is that because General Motors is not selling enough electric vehicles, they're actually paying Tesla for tax credit relief. So I just thought this was amazing because the Lutz thesis is sort of being destroyed by the fact that GM needs the tax reductions and are even paying Tesla to get credits because they're not selling enough vehicles to get the credits on their own. By the way, the other member of this purchasing group is Fiat Chrysler, and Chrysler in the United States really is avoiding doing anything when it comes to electric vehicles, so they have no choice but to do this kind of purchase. The second component of our Bob Lutz analysis is the fact that when we go to Europe, there are similar challenges being experienced by those manufacturers in terms of getting out large numbers of electric vehicles, even though the rules will be a lot more punitive in Europe than they are in the United States. So it's one thing to produce an electric vehicle, it's another thing to have the type of performance parameters that would cause people to abandon Tesla possibly and move to the solution provided by your company. So the bottom line is that as we've seen, Tesla's entering markets with the Model 3 successfully, and we're all waiting for that opportunity for it to, have a large enough footprint where Tesla sort of prevents entrance by competition because the competitors have a hard time identifying how to deliver ideas and solutions that really differentiates it from the Tesla solution or idea. The third thing about Bob Lutz we found interesting is the fact that right now there are some challenges happening when it comes to the growth of battery production and access to raw materials to produce those batteries. So the suggestion was that all you had to do, or usually in the auto business, if you need a component, you simply order that component and you can get it in large numbers, and if you're a major player, you just order a lot of them and there's no hassles. Right now, there's a huge problem going on, which is as demand for lithium and other components of the battery increases, there isn't enough supply. So because Tesla is one of the largest producers, they're able to get a superior position relative to lining up long-term resources and locking in. Hence why Elon announced recently that they may reverse integrate even into mining. That way they can make sure the supply of raw materials and so I wanted to highlight the fact that, bottom line, the demise of Tesla by the big players is being held off by obvious and not so obvious constraints. And it's exciting to note that the solutions Tesla is delivering aren't readily destroyed by competitors, as has been suggested by Bob Lutz and others. One of our viewers just made a comment behind Lutz, pointing out that he was impressed by the build quality of the Model 3, but he also felt that Tesla was still going bankrupt. I think that the bottom line here is that there's a demise of Tesla that's been predicted for quite a while, based on big players taking the space seriously. But when it comes to things like what is the battery construction going to be? Is it going to be pouch versus the cells that Tesla is using? Another issue that comes up is how do you make sure you secure supplies so you can build both the batteries and the cars at scale? These are questions that are still open, and we definitely want to know more about it. I have to admit that after I interviewed our Tesla viewer, I was a little worried about how are people doing in terms of adding the type of creature comforts that improve the driving and living with experience of owners. So I'd love to find out if any of you have found, aftermarket vendors or other things that you've added to your car that makes it a more comfortable space, because there's a goal that Tesla has, which is to minimize creature comforts within the vehicle and therefore reduce the cost and sort of have everybody be on a Spartan ownership experience. And not everybody is interested in that, especially if you're spending $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 for a car. So we'd love to hear your ideas. One thought that we had was to do a interview with a couple of shops in Los Angeles where they actually modify cars and they modify Teslas to identify some of the modifications people are making aftermarket to improve the overall ownership experience of the car, be it color or other interior accoutrements that Tesla does not want to do. But a lot of people recognize that it's a good idea to consider doing so. I wanted to maybe close out my discussion of Bob Lutz with the fact that what's going on here, there are companies with $5, $10, $20 billion to spend, and they're supposed to be delivering cars, be it both the batteries, the charging stations, etc., to put Tesla out of its misery. Has not happened. And I'm amazed to see companies with that much money to spend unable to respond to Tesla in an efficient fashion. And this just goes to show you that addressing the Tesla competitive advantage, especially on the battery end, is really not as easy as people had thought it might be. It was just flashed on the screen that one of our viewers was talking about 35% of the Tesla stock is actually shorted, which is actually true to be the case. I'm interested, excited, because there's an interesting phenomenon going on, which is Elon has now supposedly shut down his tweeting facilities, so there's a reduction in chance that's going to destroy the stock. But he's still writing company letters that are shared to the public, which is in essence a tweet. So I would not be surprised to see Elon deliver market impacting and stock impacting news that through the back door that crushes the stock, because that's what he's want to do. And we recommend that you consider owning this stock, but if you do covered calls, if you have some of these downdrafts that are rapid, you make a little money off of it and then come back and buy your stock again and keep owning your stock happily, but make some money in the process based on some of the volatility elements that we've seen. So if you're a stock owner of Tesla, please learn about something called covered calls. All the covered calls do is if there's a rapid movement in the stock, you make money. And it's not a bet against Tesla whatsoever. You just own the stock and you make more money. And we've got a few of our viewers that have told us they're making 3% or so a month by doing so. And we want you to both enjoy your vehicle and possibly make money. The final part of our show today is we're considering a name change for the show and wanted to get any and all input. There's a phenomenon where, as we've been covering Tesla, we cover all things going on in EVs, be it BMW, Mercedes, VW, any of the Japanese firms. So right now we're considering a name change of the show, with the goal being to move over to a name that's more broadly focused. So one idea we had might be EV Insight as a possible name. We're sort of playing around with ideas and would love to get your suggestions of what we might consider, because it allows the channel to grow larger, and the larger the channel gets, the more resources we have to do better overall production. So please take some time and drop us a note. Let us know what you think about name change possibilities and ideas you might have. Would love to hear those. I wanted to share my appreciation. I know Roger is one of our regular viewers, Deo, Donovan, Sean, Gareth. I've seen several of you up there. I wanted to thank all of you for joining us today. We appreciate your presence on our show, as well as comments shared both during the show and afterwards. Inputs on topics to cover, etc., would be appreciated. Any modifications you've made to your vehicle by aftermarket, we'd love to know about those, because we can share those with other viewers so they can better equip their cars as well. There's a question that I want to close out with that's tingling in my mind, and that is that Tesla put the charging stations 175 miles apart. So the lowest level vehicle you want is one with about 200 miles of range, because you're thinking that when you do long trips, you may have to charge up all the way, and then if you have the radio playing, you'll make it the 175 miles between charging facilities without any issues. So what Tesla's been doing to meet the price point of $35,000 is to actually lower the number of battery cells in the pack. And so therefore, that's how, things might work. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there as for those of you thinking about buying and leaning towards the lower battery range, you might want to think about that as a consideration in your process. At any rate, I want to thank all of you for joining us as usual. Please take time to do your leg lifts. One of our viewers asked me to demonstrate what the leg lifts that I was talking about are. And because I have, hey, thanks for the comment, ma'am. So please note, on my leg, you see this weight. So what I'm gonna do is go like this: 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'd like to have you do is get these weights, and they attach to your leg so, and you wanna do 25 of each leg every day, because it'll strengthen your quad muscles and knees and improve your health overall by the strengthening of that component. Today I've decided to walk around in them for an hour as a way to get my my constitution done, but I recommend that you consider this on a daily basis, because you'll definitely notice a health difference by doing so, and they're only $8 at Walmart. My weights, by the way, you're looking at are 4 pounds. The recommendation was 5. Good job, Deo, on doing those leg lifts, and I'm glad we're part of it. Remember, do not go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4 hours, so the food can digest. And wanted to highly recommend, a carton of milk and a bungee. Good idea, Roger. A carton of milk and a bungee will do it, so you can save some money that way too. At any rate, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Have a great day. Look forward to your comments and our next visit in 2 days.